Welcome everyone, and thank you for attending today's Cosmo Metals Investor webinar. My name is Nicola Gazzatti of Investor Relations Consultancy Corporate Storytime. Cosmo Metals is an ASX-listed gold and base metals exploration company with key projects located in Western Australia. Cosmo recently announced to the market they are exercising an option to acquire 100% of the Zarza Minerals, the holder of the Kanowna Gold Project, which is located adjacent to Northern Star's Kanowna Belle mine, where over 5.4 million ounces of gold has been produced since 1993. I am delighted to have Cosmo Metals Managing Director James Merrillees here with me today, who will run through an investor presentation, which we will follow by a Q&A session. So without any further ado, I'd like to hand over to James.
Thanks, Nicola, and welcome to your viewers this morning. Really excited to be here to present what we think is a transformative deal for Cosmo Metals, and I'd open the presentation with a view from the new Kanowna Gold Project acquisition from and the technical team did a few weeks ago, with where you can see across to the Kanowna Gold mine, the open pit there that's currently being mined by Northern Star, less than 4 kilometres to the east of us, and in between here and Kanowna, a fantastic exploration opportunity for Cosmo. Cosmo listed a couple of years ago on the back of some assets demerged from Great Boulder Resources out at Yamana, and we've since made, I think, a fantastic discovery at Mingina of EMS to play out there, copper, lead, zinc and silver. We've also identified a lot of vanadium potential on an 8K long BIF that outcrops through that area, and more recently picked up more than 400 square kilometres of ground for lithium in what's totally virgin lithium exploration territory. So quite exciting early stage plays out there. But the more recent acquisition, the acquisition we've just announced of the Kanowna Gold Project, sits really within the heart of one of the most prolific gold producing belts in the world. I've noted recently that the super pit at Kalgoorlie, I think, is just ticking close to 100 million ounces in resources and reserves. Quite a phenomenal deposit. And right next to the Kanowna Gold Project, you've got the Kanowna Belle mine, as I mentioned, operated by Northern Star, where over 5 million ounces of gold have been produced since discovery in the late 80s and development in the 90s. So a fantastic region to be. The project itself, and I'll go into some detail on that, includes high-grade hits at Don Alvaro and Laguna Verde, and a number of broad saprolite, supergene gold anomalies that have never seen a deep drill hole. So quite excited about that. A little bit more about Cosmo. As I mentioned, a demerger from Great Boulder, and Great Boulder remains a major shareholder, probably sitting close to 20% post the capital raise that we're currently undertaking. Post-raise, we'll have a little over 120 million shares on issue, a modest market cap, and extreme leverage to any success we have at Kanowna. I'm very excited about that. The team is rounded out by Andrew Patterson, the Managing Director of Great Boulder, and Peter Bird, our chairman, another geologist who's based in Melbourne and as the Business Development Manager, Investor Relations Manager for Rex Minerals, and Mel Ross, our CFO and Company Secretary, with a really deep breadth of experience in the junior mining space. Kanowna itself, there's a number of points there that relate to location, the nearby mills next to Kanowna Belle Gold Mine, just up the road, 15 minutes up the road from Kalgoorlie itself. Number of high-grade intercepts, and you can see those on the screen, 44 metres at over 2 grams, within which there's an 18-metre at 5 gram intercept at Don Alvaro, and a number of other hits, and a broad saprolite and gold anomaly that I'll describe in more detail at WKL and Dugite, which I think is very exciting, given its not only its location but the lack of exploration any deeper than the basement. And I mentioned, of course, the leverage that the corporate structure brings to any discovery that we make there. In a bit more detail, the Kanowna Gold Project. You can see we're surrounded by Northern Star, $15 billion market cap company operating at Kanowna itself. But not just Kanowna, there's a number of other phenomenal deposits nearby, Red Hill, some smaller ones at Robinson's, White Feather and BKL, to name just a few. We believe any discovery we make here, in terms of development pathways and just operating for that matter out here, getting a drill rig out of Kalgoorlie is going to be quite straightforward. 15-minute drive up the road and you're on site. The mag image here that I show just gives us a little bit of an introduction to the geology, and of course, I've got the obligatory road sign to the Palace Hotel. Not that we will be spending a lot of time there, but nice at the end of the day to be able to base your team out of Kalgoorlie, one of the major exploration and mining hubs in WA. But more to the point, this northwest trending structure that I've shown on here, the Kanowna Shear, has been the historic focus for exploration, where a lot of these gold hits that I've described occur along. But what I don't think's been recognised previously, and part of the opportunity I think for Cosmo is targeting northeast, so northeast trending structures, so at right angles to this Kanowna Shear, structures that trend into the Kanowna gold mine. And because people have been focused on that northwest structure, we believe that the drilling hasn't been optimal in terms of testing the what we believe is the more prospective orientation. And here's a map on the aerial photo of the gridded image as the maximum gold in soils, and you can see appears there's been a lot of drilling here, and we've compiled all this into a fantastic database. But when you get into the detail, you can see there's really been 12 holes in the entire project drilled deeper than 150 metres. Most of these lines of northeast oriented air core targeting the Kanowna Shear have come up with gold mineralisation. You can see the hot spots on that map, and really the focus has been on those earlier high grade hits at Don Alvaro in the northwest and Laguna Verde up in the northeast. But we believe there's still opportunity there for a discovery or two. And then, of course, the WKL and Dugite, over a kilometre long gold in saprolite or gold around the basement contact, which has never been drilled deeper than 100 metres, really. And the scale of that, just to give you a sense, that's the pit at Kanowna you can see there, but the scale of that saprolite anomaly is very comparable to the pre-resource saprolite anomaly at Kanowna itself. So we're quite excited about that as a project and a target. In more detail at Don Alvaro, you can see there's been quite a bit of drilling in and around the prospect itself. But once you get up and model it, you can see those shapes that we've put there in red. They're meaningful volumes of material there. They're in excess of 2 million tonnes if you put a hypothetical density on those. And we believe, if we can test those with some pretty targeted RC drilling and come up with any grade, that opens up a whole area there that hasn't been tested by that historic drilling. And on the back of those high grade hits represents a very exciting early target for Cosmo to test. The broad saprolite anomaly at WKL and at the adjacent Dugite, and this is quite phenomenal that you're sitting here in this location and you've got more than a kilometre strike of gold in at the basement contact that really hasn't seen a deep hole. There's been one diamond hole in the area, and it was drilled by Delta back in the late 90s, 96 or 97, testing one of the air core anomalies, and that came up with snips of mineralisation. But since then, and I note the main work has been done by Evolution in around 2018, 2019, who've infilled those northeast dots that you can see there, the air core, and hit gold in pretty much any hole that hit basement, but never drilled a deeper RC hole here. And we can hypothesize why that was the case, but that's the opportunity for us there. And Laguna Verde, the other prospect there that's had some deeper drilling, a couple of RC holes, and we think that those holes have been drilled in a suboptimal direction, so not testing that northeast structure. And where they have hit mineralisation, there's still plenty of space to go and test for extensions to the northwest and southeast. So two targets that we can walk up and test at Laguna Verde. And I'll touch briefly, because it's not really the focus over the next 6 months, on the background at Yamana, but still important work and exciting opportunities there for us to follow up at Minjina, where we've got the VMS prospect, and the prospective rocks there, these felsic volcanics, have never been targeted in this belt, and we know they're outcropping through there, so an opportunity to go and test those on the ground. The Wernda lithium project, I mean, it's quite incredible, really, given the hype and excitement around lithium over the past few years, that this belt scale opportunity has never been followed up, and we picked that up 100% in a 100% application. 60-kilometre long lithium pathfinder anomalies and outcropping pegmatites there that have never been tested. So some nice early stage work that we can be doing in lockstep with the Kanowna Gold exploration programs. So in summary, here really what we see is the timeline and the news flow and activities over the coming 6 months or so. We're completing the capital raise and the acquisition of the Kanowna Gold Project. We're very advanced with targeting. We've been out in the ground already, had a look at some of the old drill spoil, looked at some of the geology, getting out again in the next few weeks to go and refine those with a couple of guys that, basically the guys that wrote the Bibles on Kanowna Belle, so getting those guys involved. Heritage work, we've got a heritage agreement in place and a heritage proposal to be put forward to see if that's required, but that can be done under the existing agreement shortly around the time that we complete the capital raise, and allows us time to prepare the drill programs that we see as relatively easy, quick walk-up targets to go and test at Don Alvaro and Laguna Verde, a few holes on the highest, best grade of the air core drilling at Dugite and WKL, and meanwhile doing infill auger and air core work at that broad saprolite anomaly at WKL. And at the same time, as I mentioned, getting out with field teams, doing the recon work on the vanadium and the lithium opportunity up at Yamana. So in summary, very excited to get out on a project in a phenomenal location with a good historical exploration background or platform to launch what we think are some high priority, high reward drilling programs over the coming few months.
Thank you so much, James, for the presentation. We'll now move on to our Q&A session. Our first question for today, James, is there an exploration planned on Cosmo's assets in the Yamana district in the coming quarters, or is it likely to be largely focused on the Kanowna Gold Project?
No, as I mentioned, Nicola, I think that it's fair to say the focus of the programs will be on Kanowna and drilling, particularly the high budget, the high impact programs will be there. But we'll be ticking along work at Yamana and at Wernda to develop targets over the coming months. So we have a bit of a pipeline coming through there. But the focus is really getting Kanowna bedded down and get rigs out on the ground to go and make that meaningful discovery or two.
Great, James. Our second question, would it be fair to say that Evolution, who previously owned the Kanowna Gold Project, likely walked away from the project to concentrate on their producing Mungari operations located west of Kalgoorlie?
That's probably what happened. Look, we've looked at it and scratched our heads a bit, because we do think this is a phenomenal opportunity. Maybe it was corporate focus elsewhere, tenements coming up to expiry. It's hard to say, but we've met with some of the guys that were involved in the targeting work there, and I think you're right. The focus for that company went elsewhere. And look, these are relatively small tenements by their standards, but the prize here is still, I think, enough to shift the dial, certainly for a Cosmo, and would certainly be a meaningful, if we made a discovery, it doesn't have to be a 7 million ounce Kanowna discovery to make a meaningful project. And we can look at other things like the ones I mentioned, Robinson's, White Feather. These are 200,000-300,000 ounce deposits that are phenomenally rich and profitable operations.
Thanks, James. Our next question, can you expand on the advantages associated with being located so close to the services and processing infrastructure in Kalgoorlie?
Yeah, look, you can't overstate it. everything from the exploration stage where we can get access to rigs, infrastructure, people, be out on site, as I mentioned, 15-minute drive up the road. All those things make operating costs much less, much more, you're allowed much more flexibility, especially as a small company where, if you're operating in more remote regions, mobilization costs, everything from supporting broken down rigs, all those things just add up and can kill you. I think they're important points to note at the exploration stage. And then showing that any discovery you make here has a credible pathway to development. And we can point to the existing operations, we can point to infrastructure that's already in place that won't need to be replicated. All those things. It's a known mining area, so getting permitting done, heritage agreements with groups that have lots of experience with mining projects. There's a raft of things, and did I mention you could get a cold beer at 15 minutes down the road? But anyway, these are all things to attract people to come and work for you, to get excited about the exploration possibilities out here.
Sounds great, James. Nice cold beer on a hot day. So that does appear to cover the majority of our questions from the audience today. If you do have any further questions, please feel free to forward them to info@corporatestorytime.com. James, do you have any final comments?
All I'd like to say is just a brief thank you to our shareholders. We do have a tight shareholder base, and they've been very supportive through what's been a pretty lean news flow period while we've been looking for new projects. And we hope, and I think we're all excited about what we've managed to acquire here at Kanowna, and look forward to taking everyone along on the discovery ride.
Thank you, James. This does conclude our webinar. Thanks to everyone for attending, and thanks to James and the Cosmo team for the update. Thanks, James.
Thanks, Nicola.